If you've been enjoying our podcast as much as we have and hope that we continue past 50 episodes, here's your chance. Here's your chance to help make that happen. By becoming a Patreon subscriber, not only will you help the Little House on the Prairie 50th Anniversary podcast to live on, but you'll also get exclusive content just for you.
Here's what's in store for you. Join monthly Q&A sessions where you can ask us about anything. Whether it's about our work, personal interests, or advice on your own projects, we're here to connect and share.
Enjoy unique content created specifically for Patreon subscribers, including bonus segments from our shows.
You'll have a say in what we create, and you'll have a voice in future content.
Benefit from exclusive discounts on merchandise and entries into special giveaways. It's our way of saying thank you for your support.
Receive personalized shout-outs in videos, podcasts, or social media posts.
Because your support on Patreon allows us to dedicate more resources to creating the content that you love.
You could join the Little House 50th Anniversary podcast community on Patreon and become a Prairie patron for just $5 a month.
The first 50 new members will get autographed pictures of Alison and me, a signed Livin On a Prairie card from Pamela,
and signed book plates for all of our books. Yes, for Confessions of a Prairie Bitch and for Prairie Man, My Little House Life and Beyond.
We thank you so much for your continued support, and we cannot wait to share our ongoing journey with you on Patreon. We are extremely grateful for the support of VisitSeeMeValley.com and the city of Simi Valley's belief in Little House on the Prairie and their support of the Little House 50th Anniversary podcast.
Discover the charm of Simi Valley, California, the home of the Prairie. Visit Simi Valley, where adventure meets history and the spirit of the Prairie comes alive. Explore the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library, step aboard Air Force One, enjoy stunning hikes and savor delicious local cuisine. Whether you're here for a weekend getaway or a family vacation, Simi Valley offers something for everyone and is only 30 minutes from Los Angeles. Plan your visit today and experience the best of Simi Valley. Go to VisitSeeMeValley.com for more details. Your adventure awaits in Simi Valley.
Well, hello, everybody. Hello, bonnet heads. Welcome to another episode. I am Pamela Bob. I am your host. I'm the creator of Livin On a Prairie, the series. And somebody, maybe our guest today, just told me that she watched it, which is thrilling. Anyway, I'm here with our beloved Prairie bitch, Alison Arngrim, and our hashtag imaginary boyfriend, Dean Butler.
Hello.
Here we go.
I love
that
the
was
applause.
Thrilling for me. Come on. That was a moment for me. I can't believe we didn't have that recorded, but yes. Okay. Before we get to our part 2 with our very special guest, Mary, why you bugging? How are you both? You're both calm before August.
Yeah, no, it's
tomorrow
busy. It's a busy time. Well, Alison, you're heading off for San Francisco,
starting
right?
now.
Yeah,
I'm going to the
Yeah, you leave
airport
next,
after
right?
this because I have a show at
Yeah.
the fabulous Club Oasis in San Francisco on Thursday, and then at the end of the month we're all going to Connecticut.
We're all going to
We're all
Connecticut.
going.
Well, and then now we're going to be doing a live podcast from Tombstone, Arizona, August 16th, which will be fun with the nice group down there. More details on that to follow. My audiobook's out. I'm excited about that.
Yes.
I'm doing a book signing in Montclair, California, which is sort of adjacent to my hometown, on August 8th at 7 p.m. at a very good Reads, a nice little bookstore that my mom goes to. My mom and all of her, the ladies of leisure, go to this bookstore to get their books. So I'm doing a book signing there.
I've even been to Montclair, California.
Well, there you go. Yeah, very pretty little area.
You're going to your mom's favorite bookstore.
I am.
That's adorable.
To sign books,
That's
Full
You are the girl.
Yes, I am.
And also very exciting news, our Patreon channel is now up and running, and you can see extras starting now with Melissa Anderson answering many of your listener questions. So check it out if you're not already a patron.
Very cool. Very cool.
It's been really fun doing that. All right. So shall we get going?
Yes,
We're
we
very
should.
excited. Okay. We had so many fan questions, and we had so much more that we wanted to talk to her about, that she was so gracious to accept our plea. Actually, it wasn't even an invite. It was a plea
begging.
to please come back. So before I introduce her, I do need to say, from the studios of UBN Go in Burbank, California, this is the Little House 50th Anniversary Podcast. And no better music, the sweeping, emotional, possibly traumatic music, to introduce part 2 of our special guest, none other than Melissa Anderson, beloved Mary Ingalls. Thank you for coming back.
Welcome back.
Oh my
You're
gosh.
welcome. My pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, before we get into this conversation, you said something to Pamela before, and we have to have it on the record.
Yes, we must.
Oh, well,
blushing.
then, yes, Pamela, I watched all of her episodes, and I loved it. I mean, I loved it. It's so
You're talking
fun.
about Living on a Prairie
very
now.
Fun.
Okay.
Sorry?
You're talking
Living
about
on a Prairie,
living on a
yeah.
prairie now, right?
Yes, I am. Living on a Prairie. It was fantastic.
Did it
Very,
say
very,
Wonderful.
very
Thank
fun.
you. Thank
Did
you.
it
I'm so
say
pleased.
everything you had been thinking for the past 50 years, which is what Allison said to me after she read it?
Oh, it's just so funny. I mean, I didn't even allow myself to think that. You know, and it was when I saw it, it was like, oh my God, yes.
This is a television show for the 1970s.
It was just hilarious, really funny.
I thank you so much. Thank you.
You're
it's
great. You are just great.
Oh,
Yes, she
oh my
is.
gosh. Stop
No,
it,
she
everybody.
really is terrific.
I'm verklempt.
Yeah.
I'm verklempt.
Yeah.
Okay, my friend Melissa Anderson, here we go.
Allison, you got the first.
Oh, I have the first. I have the first of
Allison
the
has the
madness
first
of
question.
our show that we're doing about Little House. We're talking about how it's impacted your life? That's the first one I have. Okay, so it's been bonkers. This 50th anniversary has been just completely out of control with the 8 million events, and all of us have had our lives impacted. And Little House in the Prairie, it just won't go away. It's Little House, 24/7. How has Little House in the Prairie impacted your life over all of these decades?
Positive or negative, who knows?
Well, I would say it's always been positive. You know, fortunately, we're all proud of what we've been a part of, what we were a part of. So it's always been positive.
Good.
You know, now over these last years, I really enjoy having anonymity, being in a city that you want to people watch, that I can actually people watch without looking like I'm waiting for attention or someone to watch me. So that's really nice. But, you know, I've always been grateful, and it's always been positive.
You know, we had a, I mean, the three of us, Allison, Pamela, and me, were involved in the 50th anniversary event at Simi Valley. Did you ever give that some consideration to attend that? I mean, I think you would have absolutely loved it if you'd been there.
It was a lot. It was a lot. But they'd have absolutely screamed bloody murder if they saw
Oh,
her.
they would have people would have been overjoyed to see you. But, you know, well, you've done events before. You've done a few. We did an event together in Green Bay, Wisconsin, you know, years ago. We all did the 40th anniversary in Manhattan, where we went and did the Today program and all that. What's your take on those events? I mean, is it about anonymity? Is that you sort of like the anonymity part?
No. I mean, it's more about. It's not that I don't, you know, like and you know, really love getting together with you guys. It's like, you know, it's fun to see, you know, and other members of the cast that I haven't seen in years and years. That's all really fun. It's I think I just am more. I like to be more forward and less back. So I appreciate it all. I really do.
Yeah.
But I try to do less probably because I really am trying to live in the now.
Well, it is weird. I mean, I was 12 when I started, and I know Matt Laboratory was like talking about, like, I mean, if I did a really great science paper in the 4th grade, and I go, yeah, but if it won the Nobel accidentally or something, it's just like it's so weird. People, when we get famous, the number of famous people who didn't choose what they wanted to become famous. Yeah. Patsy Cline hated Crazy. Did she really? Oh, she didn't want to record it. It took him like a year to get him to get talking to record. There's a whole series of stories about famous authors, actors saying, I can't stand that song. It's like, it's your number one hit. It's really weird. And that show of all the things that we've done in our lives, that's like, that's the thing? Okay, that's the thing. But yeah, it's got to be weird when it's been 50 years and you're kind of like, well, I did some other stuff.
Well, that, and also I think I would feel that way if whatever it was. I just think I just don't want to be too involved in what was because in order to live my life now, I really need to be in the now and enjoying that and whatever that brings, or good, bad, whatever.
Yeah.
It's just that. I think it would be almost any. I think I would feel that way about almost anything that you're,
Sure.
Yeah, after 50, I can't believe I'm saying that. 50 years.
I know, right?
But still,
okay.
I'm grateful to be alive.
And it's funny, I get it, and yet what's so amazing for me, Melissa, is that the show, when you feel that kind of love around you, when you step back, when we step into that world, when you feel that kind of love and affection and appreciation, it's really powerful. And the gratitude that I feel for what comes at me, what comes at all of us when we go out is it's just pretty extraordinary. And very few people relatively have that opportunity to feel that kind of love over something that
Adoration.
they did. I mean, it's very, very special, and we've experienced a lot of it. And look, it's not every moment; it's not perfect, but the overall is pretty amazing. It really is.
Yeah. I mean, how many times can I get asked, was it a wig?
Yeah,
there's
of course.
that.
All these questions.
What gets me is we have younger viewers. We have like new people. When the people who are 18, 19, and 20 years old come up to me and go, I just started watching it, I'm kind of like, whoa, really? But then I love that because it's not just people our age who were there 50 freaking years ago. It's like okay, good. It's new people. I'm going to throw in one also. Hello, France, because it's a whole other thing in France, probably why you like Monte Carlo so much.
Definitely.
And we have to do shout out to our mutual friend, strangely enough, that we would have the mutual friend of Patrick Loubatière.
Yes.
Who works on me with my kooky show and actually like reintroduced us and everything. Now, how'd you meet him?
I met him years and years ago when he was doing his book, I think, and he looked me up in LA and found me in LA. That was years ago. That was before I moved to Montreal, so it was around 2000 or something. Yeah. So I've known him a really long time. I love Patrick. He's a very, very special person.
Are you fluent in French still? I know you were.
I am not. No.
You're not?
No.
Your daughter is.
And I'm not. I know I'm terrible. I didn't take the opportunity presented to me. I mean, I should have. I could have. My kids are fluent, and they have been since they were, they started when they were 3. So I could have had all French days, and only spoken French myself, and but I didn't. And then in Montreal, anytime I got my courage up and I tried on the street to speak French, I would end up with someone with a very strong accent, Montreal accent, Quebecois accent, exactly. And that I didn't know. I mean, my kids and I are, we all, any studying I've done, it's all been Parisian, and it would take me like 5 minutes to realize what they said, and I go, oh, oh, that's what, and I'd be an idiot, So, it's my fault. I didn't take the opportunity that I had. But I can read it pretty well and understand it pretty well.
You certainly can understand the language better than you can if you have some background. And you can understand it more.
I love Montreal, but everyone does talk like Celine Dion. Hello, bonjour, good morning, What is everyone saying?
It's a great city. Well, okay, so hopefully this will wrap up the the number one comment on social media that I get is, "Where's Mary? Where's Mary?" So let's put that to rest. She's living her life, people. She's living her life. She's doing a good job.
She's in New York being fabulous.
Trying anyway.
Yes. We have a lot of questions, and the first two are just some questions that several people asked. So these are a couple little house questions. So first one is, when Mary went blind, it signaled a huge change for you. What was your biggest fear as you faced that obstacle? Did you have a fear about it?
My biggest fear first was that I was going to be written out of the show because I didn't see what would happen to Mary after she went blind. Because when does it happen in the books? I can't remember.
What, does she go blind?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And the dog dies.
Does, right?
It's like at the same time.
You don't hear much. You don't hear much about Mary after that. So that was my biggest fear. And then Mike Landon, put that to rest. But and then it was just trust. I had to trust that it was going to, that I was going to be able to continue on the show, which I did, and it was great. I was also, I would say I was fearful of, I wanted to do a really good job, and I worked as hard as I could to make that happen. So I wanted it to be technically as right as it could be. So those were of course fears. But
you did do a
and
really
who
good
knew
job.
It was just the start of a whole bunch of disasters.
Well, and it's legit because in the book, she goes blind, and then that is kind of it. She doesn't do a lot, and then she goes to the fabulous blind school, but in Iowa, way over, and she communicates through the mail, and then she pops back up briefly in one book. So she doesn't get a lot of airtime. Whereas in the show, it was like, oh great, we have a blind character.
right.
No,
Which the drama of it all, and it was great. I mean, in our show, it was a boost for our show. We were number 2 the first week, and number 1 the second week, and it was a two-part episode, and we had never had ratings like that before. So it was huge. So it was those kinds of tragedies tend to be huge.
Melissa, people loved you on the show.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at your impact on viewership with these episodes, as you're inferring now. I mean, as you're saying, it was enormous, and you were very loved. And if you look at the biggest rated episodes in the history of the series, your adventures,
as we call them,
point, or stick right there at the top of the list in terms of popular episodes.
Well, and unlike poor, unfortunate Mary Ingalls in real life, your character got to get married to a very nice looking man. And so how did you feel when you realized your character was getting married and Adam Kendall and meeting Linwood Boomer? What was that like?
Linwood Boomer was great to work with. He was so much fun, and he was very zany.
Yes,
silly, and
he is that absolutely
and,
true.
And he had beautiful blue eyes and very long black eyelashes.
Yeah.
How could you see them?
How could I see them? That's right. Yes, I had to pretend not to.
Team Adam. Team Adam.
That's right. Yeah. But butterfly kisses or whatever, right?
There you go.
Yeah, I got to read with him. I'm sure that was nerve-wracking. I guess
really?
It was good. I got to read with him in the casting office. They asked me to.
Oh, wow. So you had a little chemistry read with him.
Yeah, and I think I read. I know I read, so I'm sure I read with him. I read with some actors, and I did because they asked me to, and I had no idea, what would end up happening. But but I'm really glad he got the role, and he was great. I think he was nervous, like anybody would be coming in. I think it's always hard on a guest star coming into an established show.
Yeah.
We all know what we're doing, or we pretend we do, and they come in, and it's got to be incredibly nerve-wracking. And he had this big character, and he was blind as well. So, but he did I thought he did a great job, and he's, and he deserves all the success he's gotten in his career and in other ways, too. And
were you hoping they picked him?
Honestly, I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I just don't remember. But I don't know if I would have had a thought like that, because it takes a little more to know the person's personality to know if I would, because everybody, was fairly good. So I don't know if I would have had that. I honestly don't remember. It's weird. Some things I remember like it's yesterday, and other things like that, then it's important. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Strange.
Okay, we're going to take a very short break, and we will be back with Melissa Anderson.
When you visit Simi Valley, California, you're stepping into the pages of history. Go from the pioneers to the presidents. Explore beautiful wildflowers, hike through iconic Hollywood locations, and end your day aboard the actual Air Force One at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library and Museum. Throughout the summer, take the Little House 50th Anniversary Tour at Big Sky Movie Ranch. Less than 15 minutes from Los Angeles and 30 minutes from Universal Studios, Simi Valley has small-town charm with big-time history. Go to visitsimivalley.com for more information. We are so grateful to visitsimivalley.com for their commitment to presenting the Little House 50th Anniversary podcast.
This is awesome. I'm loving this.
So great.
I'm like,
so good.
tell me everything.
I had no idea that you'd done chemistry reads. I think that's cool.
But this I don't know. I mean, this has been so elusive to so many of the fans.
Probably
it's really,
saved me.
I mean, it was like when Linwood was at Simi Valley, it was sort of like, oh my God, I've got to ask the question.
Right?
Oh God, you didn't get to ask that question. Did you ask you didn't ask your question.
So this is the question that I asked Linwood in front of 1,000 people at the 50th anniversary event in Simi Valley. And I want to ask you the same burning question that all the fans have wanted to know for almost 50 years. How on earth did you forget your baby when escaping the blind school fire? How? How?
I do not know. And I think that's one of those, it was for dramatic purposes. We had to do that. And it was dumb. I mean, like so dumb. So, yeah, things like that happen and you just want to, yeah.
So you realize at the time, like, why would we forget our own child?
Exactly.
Okay.
Oh,
okay.
Wow.
It's good to know that. I mean, what a powerless situation you're in, too, of knowing, like, this is dumb and I can't do anything about it. But, good battering ram for Alice Garvey.
Yeah, Mrs. Garvey had to come in.
And we asked. I mean, I know we tried to not have this issue. And we were shot down,
Yeah, like why couldn't you have you have picked up the baby and Alice was like, I'll take the baby, you guys go ahead.
Yeah,
right.
that she gets stuck in the room. And
right.
Done.
Right.
That makes
that would have made total sense. Where she just says, I've got the baby, you run.
You did.
Okay, it's solved.
All right, well, let's not have Melissa relive the trauma too much anymore. Let's move on. Let's move to today.
She has 2 children who have survived to adulthood, so clearly she is not leaving babies in burning buildings in real life.
Yeah. Okay, Allison, what should we talk a little bit? We talked a little house, but let's talk a little outside of your little house life. Allison had a question for you that she wanted to ask because from her personal experience.
Okay, so this totally, I mean, this is something that totally happened to me, and it had to have happened because you're gorgeous. When you're a strikingly pretty blonde person in the 1980s, did you have any of the industry pressure to play way overly sexualized roles, bimbos? I mean,
outside of Little, you mean when she left?
When she left, and for movies and TV. I mean, I got called in. I used to say I had to be either a cheerleader naked or dead or a combination of all three. It was horrifying.
That's a Nellie Olson thing.
It was just it's like, did you, I mean, we're around the same age. You were gorgeous. You were blonde. It was the 1980s. That's what, Did you get those kind of offers and weirdness?
Well, thank you for the, you were gorgeous and you still are also, and blonde. But, well, it actually, I was offered the Blue Lagoon when we were still shooting Little House.
Wow.
Wow.
And that was a big, I mean, I wouldn't have done it anyway. But, you know, I mean, that would probably have violated the morals clause in the contract, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, you know, kind of. But I think, Alison, you were built differently than I was.
This comes up a lot. I don't know why.
I guess.
Melissa Gilbert brings that up all the time.
Thin and yeah, and so maybe that was part of it. But
You're built differently.
I tended to get, you know, things. I remember, this is an interesting thing. Happy Birthday to Me,
which we totally want to talk about.
I was a feature film directed by J. Lee Thompson. With Glenn Ford and a bunch of really, really good Canadian actors. And we shot in Montreal. And I agreed to this movie with my character being who she was. But halfway through, they changed it.
Oh, my God.
And this is how they put it to me. I was so believable as the good Ginny that they didn't think the audience would ever believe that I could possibly be the murderess.
Aww.
So they made me an evil twin. And
halfway through the movie,
and it was sort of like the mask, you know. And it wasn't an evil twin, but it was
spoiler alert,
the girl that you know, wearing the mask.
Wow.
And so I did all the evil deeds.
The killing.
I acted them all. I did them all. But did I get the credit for it? No.
That is so bizarre. So
I did often get a lot of the innocent roles. Or the innocent that goes bad. And that was kind of, at least that was more interesting when she did go somewhere.
I did want to know about the horror thing, because I love horror, and I wondered if Happy Birthday to Me was it like, oh yeah, you need to do this to get away from Mary, or did you like doing it? It sounds like, yes, it was a great part that you did like doing that.
It actually was. It's a good script. It's a good movie. It's a well done, well made movie.
Oh, horror buffs love it, love it.
It has, you know, it's still, you know, it's kind of a cult classic. It's really in the horror genre, obviously.
Don't you get strangled in the front seat of a car or something at a certain point
yeah,
in the
I mean, and it's famous for the shish kebab.
Shish kebab.
Shish kebab that I shoved down a suitor's throat.
Great.
Yeah.
Like you do. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
So anyway,
that's very anti-Prairie. Yes.
Yeah.
No shish kebabs on the Prairie.
And that was, you know, I was still shooting Little House at that time. I was in my 8th season. I did 2 episodes the 8th season, and somehow it still had to be worked out, and it wasn't, you know, it was tricky.
Yeah.
But luckily I got out of, you know, the schedule was moved a little so that I could go and do it. And, and that was great.
I love horror. I did just a few years ago. I did get to do a small horror film. They did let me do my own killing. Very pleased about that. And I did put someone's eye out at one point over, and I thought of you. There was a skewer, and I did put someone's eye out. Not a kebab.
I think of eyes being gouged out. I think of
I hope it wasn't the me as the victim. Oh.
No. The kebabbing thing. I was like, right? I was like, well, it's the shish kebab thing. Oh, the eyeball. Oh, okay. Yeah. So I do. I adore horror. Now, we talked about before, it's like you did not put your kids in the business, and I noticed like most people are in show business, like totally don't, and focus on education and everything. But so what are they doing now? Because your children are educated, for heaven's sake.
Well, yeah. They both speak fluent French, of course, and my son speaks good Italian as well, and my daughter speaks very good Spanish as well.
Wow.
And some Italian, and my son is like some Spanish. But anyway, so they learned, a lot of languages while they, some other languages while they were in school. And my son is an attorney here in New York, and my daughter is the do-gooder of the family. She has always gravitated towards charitable organizations, and she is currently at the American Society of Hematology in Washington, D.C.
Well,
and she has a very important position there, and they're very good people, and she loves it, and
good for them.
So so they've turned out. I'm proud of them. They're when you have kids, I was scared to death. I was like, oh my God, I'm an actress. I mean, what if I can't love them like I'm supposed to? What if I can't give enough? What if I'm too self-centered? What if I'm, oh no. And I've made a mistake. I shouldn't have done this. And then you have them, and they become your life. You love them like you've never loved anything in your life. But they are right away their own people. Parents, I think, get too much credit. They're their own
I
people,
say
and
that
you just
all
sort
the
of
time. Yes.
Yeah, you just sort of steer them, hopefully out of danger, into the right places, and hope for the best. And my kids, I'm very, very proud of them.
That is awesome.
Yeah,
but you see
whenever
the pressure.
people compliment my kids, I say, no, they came out that way. That's not me. They came out that way.
How many do you have?
I have two.
You have two?
Two and
Henry's
two.
14 and Margot's 6.
And they're adorable.
Nice.
Yeah.
Little smart
My
whippersnappers.
son's middle
they
name
came-
is Henry.
They came that way. Oh, yay. Good.
Yay.
Yeah.
But you see the pressure that is put on women in Hollywood. Okay, be an actress and be sexy, be this, be that,
Sure,
be that.
all that.
Oh, now have a family, but you're an actress. You're not like a real mom. And it's like, the things they put on you.
Also, the industry is so not conducive to parenthood.
Right.
I mean, it's so
It's hard.
opposite of what your schedule needs to be, of what your commitments need to be. I mean, it's just so difficult to navigate it. Really.
Is that
agree,
sort of why you
and,
step back a little bit, Melissa? I mean, when you had children, you made it. Was that part of the thinking of stepping back?
That was the thinking. That really was. Yeah. I also, because Michael, my husband, is also in the business. He's a executive producer, writer, and he was traveling. So at that time, when we were in LA, he was traveling to Canada all the time. And then we moved to Canada, and he was traveling to LA all the time. So, and I say all the time. It wasn't all the time, but he would kind of group meetings into 3 weeks of meetings, and and it was a lot, and it's hard. But I didn't want my two little kids to be raised by other people. I really, and I loved it. I was having a great time. I mean, it wasn't all great. It was difficult, but I was, learning along with them, and I enjoyed being with them, and I guess I enjoyed the normalcy of it. So I really liked that. So,
well, that's so lovely.
Yeah.
That's really lovely.
You met Michael on the set of The Equalizer, the original.
No, everyone thinks that.
That's what I thought.
That's the story. All right, so what's the real story?
What's the mythology is that you met on The Equalizer. So what actually happened?
It's almost that.
Pretty much.
I was offered The Equalizer.
Oh my God, you look like a queen.
I've never been so excited. Oh yeah, it was so, and my dress was very Princess Diana.
Oh,
my
80s,
God.
baby.
Yeah. Anyway, I've never been so excited because I liked The Equalizer. I hadn't seen a lot of them, but I had seen probably altogether a whole season's worth. And then I got this offer to play his daughter, and I flipped. I mean, I was so excited.
Yeah.
So, and it was in New York, and I loved New York, and here I was in LA all the time. This was just the best. This was the best, and still, I will never forget. I was so excited. So, it was designed to be 3 2-part episodes over a couple of seasons.
Oh wow.
And so I did the first two-parter. And the thing was, my husband had created The Equalizer and written, I think he wrote the first episode. But by the time I came, he had been moved. He worked for Universal at that time. He was on staff, or what I forget they called it. But
he had an overall deal. He had an overhead deal.
He did. That's what he had. Yes.
Yeah.
And back in the day.
Yeah.
And so they had moved him on to the new episodes of Alfred Hitchcock Presents.
Which I saw you on an episode of that. I remember. I do. Because I was like, oh my God, it's Mary. She's bad. Yeah, she was evil.
And so I did the Equalizers, and I didn't meet him then. And then from that, he asked for me to do, or I don't think he asked for me, but my name came up for the first episode of Alfred Hitchcock that he was doing in Toronto. And so he said, "Oh, that's the girl from The Equalizer." And so then he knew me, and so then knew of me, and so then I went and did Alfred Hitchcock in Toronto, and that's where we met. Yeah.
Aha.
Now, so this has been everywhere that you met on The Equalizer.
Completely.
So I'm so glad that you could straighten that out here.
Finally. In Toronto. Did he wrote an episode of Columbo. It's one of my favorite. With Jack Cassidy as the magician who is the killer.
Yes.
It's what Jack Cassidy is like a killer.
Because when I found that out in Toronto, I think. I did. It's a great story. He was he wrote that script on spec.
Really?
He was living in London at the time.
It's one of the best episodes of Calypso. Because Jack Cassidy was a killer like 3 times. And this one, he's a magician. He's really creepy. And he
could be really charming and creepy if he wanted to.
So he wrote one of my faves.
He wrote the script on spec. They didn't, and sent it to Levinson and Link at Universal, and they didn't accept any outside writers and without representation, blah, blah, blah. Right. But anyway, it all worked out, and that was his first professional gig.
Really? That's
in the
very
States
cool.
Anyway.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I think we have.
And I said that at the time. I went, "Oh my God, the one with Jack Cassidy! Oh my God!"
Hello, right? See, that's what I did. I looked at the thing. Oh my God, I wrote the episode with Jack Cassidy. Okay,
that's pretty cool.
Had to do.
So,
we have
let's move to audience questions because we're chasing the clock.
We'll talk to you for 3 days.
We had a whole Patreon segment with you with our listener questions, but we have so many more listener questions, and I just felt like we couldn't ignore the rest of them. So here are a bunch of listener questions. Here we go. Okay. Daphne Louis Endress wants to know. She says, I happen to be watching The Reincarnation of Nellie, which is Melissa's last episode, and I never put that together. That was her last
I didn't either.
Because season
I never realized that. She
8.
She's 9. What was it like to do the last season? What was your last experience like?
I honestly, that's one of those things I do not remember.
Yeah.
Nope. Gone.
Forward.
I can tell you what I was thinking in the episode in Harvest of Friends when Melissa Gilbert and I are watching Pa and with his ribs and this, and I can tell you what I was thinking. I can, but I cannot tell you things like that's one of them. I have no idea.
I guess that either means you were real ready to go, or it was so much that you've sort of dissociated and don't have the memories.
Yes, it was probably a combination of both of those. When things are big like that, and it just left.
You get so into the zone, you're using a different part of your brain, and they ask you later to go, what? I don't do.
But I never put it together that was your last episode. Okay, here's my question.
Uh-oh.
Who had it worse, Mary or Albert? Now, I would say that is an awkward family reunion between Mary and Albert, but they seem to work it out.
Right?
But who had it worse, do you think? Lots of trauma for both of them.
I guess Albert, right?
Really?
Ooh. I mean, it's a toss-up.
Well, I guess he died at the end, so that makes it pretty tough. Maybe.
Maybe he died. Yeah, sure, right. Okay. Ray Kevin says, I know Michael Landon said that he would think about the loss of Dan Blocker to play his tearful scenes. Where did you go, Melissa, to generate your tears? You were a really good crier.
There's so many of them.
Yeah, very good crier.
Thank you. Really, I've done this my whole career. If it doesn't make me cry on the page when I read it, then there's no way it's going to make me cry when I do it.
Yeah.
So I was lucky that way that it pretty much always did. So I was able to just do that.
Yeah,
if it went on too long, then I might have to go, what would I do if my dog, what if my dog broke his leg? Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know. But
Right.
no, seriously, usually that didn't happen.
With Little House scripts, that was the thing people could do. They could say, well, the episode was so upsetting. I just, yeah.
Oh my God. I just watched, my daughter just started watching it, and we just watched the election. And dear Lord, I'm a mess every episode. I don't know how you guys got through it. Okay, next question. I mean, even innocent ones that you think like this is a light one, and it's not. They're all devastating. Trauma on the prairie, like I always say. Okay, Joanne Silvani Kilroy asks, Did you do any special preparation to play Mary after she went blind? Was that a difficult thing for you to do at such a young age?
I did before Mary went blind. I went to the Foundation for the Junior Blind and worked with a teacher there. I had to learn things like how to walk with a cane, how to look like I could read Braille.
Yeah.
Fluently. But then I had to learn things that a newly blinded person would do. Like when you walk across a room, you shuffle your feet. You don't pick your feet up. When you go to a chair to sit down, you're feeling around the chair. You're so afraid you're not going to find the chair. You're going to fall on the ground that you end up sitting on your hand. That happens all the time, I guess. And so there were many things of pouring water or any beverage, whatever, into a glass. You put your finger over the edge of the glass so that you can, how much is in there. Technically there were a lot of things. And then it really it's hard to do the blind gaze thing at certain camera angles. So I would be blind. I would be acting my little butt off, being as blind as a bat, and the camera would say, "It looks like you can see. It looks like you can." And so I'd have to adjust my focus or my head or something. Yeah, it was tricky. It was tricky. It wasn't always easy. That's for sure.
Interesting. I guess Lynn would have had to have done the same thing, right?
Yes, I don't know what his secret was, but I thought he was very good. Very good.
But you'd have to constantly readjust your angle, because it's one thing to say, okay, I'm blind, I've set it up, this is going to be my eye line, and then nope, doesn't work. No, the camera's over here now. Completely changed everything you just did.
And that's just purely technical, right?
And then also there's things like, and it's technical and it's important though. Like if we're having a conversation and just like what happened now, Alison says something over to my left. In a sighted person, they would turn their head and their eyes to the left. But a blind person would turn their head and their eyes would trail. So it's those kinds of things are really hard. But that's kind of how it works. And and it's easier, and I found it's not easy, but it's easier to always have the gaze and be able to be able to look around and at people talking or cock my head or whatever, keeping the gaze if I possibly could, if the camera didn't think I was seeing something. But usually it didn't. I mean, most times it didn't, because it didn't look like I was focusing on something.
Right. Yeah. Right.
I think. Wow. Anyway, I'm sure you have more questions. I'm sorry.
No, that's awesome.
Great detail, Melissa. You answer with wonderful detail.
People want to know this.
Yeah, they really want to know. Yeah.
No. Fans are dying to hear these answers, so this is amazing. Gay_B or Ga_B 1995 wants to know, is there a favorite moment you had with Michael Landon?
But no, I mean, well, if there was one, it would be when I was so upset and I thought I was being written out when my character was going to go blind. And he reassured me that it was going to be fantastic and my life would change forever and blah, 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 and he was right. So if there was one, it would be that. But overall, I mean, he was really such a good person. Of course, he had, he was not a perfect person, but he was a very good guy. He was great to us. Mm-hmm. And so I have, just so many really nice memories of him.
Yeah. Yeah. That's nice to hear. I didn't ask you this before, though, but people asked, how did you feel when Linwood came on the scene? How did you feel when Dean came on the scene?
When Dean came on, well, I thought it was cool that they were sticking to the books for that one. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Dean, I think Dean had it hard. I think, I think it was tough.
Poor Dean.
Like I said, it's tough to come into a hit show and an established show, I should say. Mm. And I think he took some ribbing and stuff. And Mike was Mike at those times. And but yeah, he was a very good sport and a very good actor. So
well, that's very kind of you, Melissa. Thank you for that.
You did. You took it and ran with it.
Okay.
Let's go to our last question.
Our last question.
Okay.
Pamela asked the one about. Oh my God!
Here we go. Okay. Bong Chandler 1 wants to know.
Bong Chandler.
I know.
One. Because there's a
combination of so many things in that name. Yeah. They want to know, knowing all you know now, would you go back and do Little House on the Prairie again?
I think so. I and another actor, we were both up for. We were going to school. We were banking hours for a Disney movie, and but we were in the same situation, the two of us. If he had done a pilot and I had done a pilot, and if our pilots went to series, then the movie was out. It was Escape to Witch Mountain. Oh. And so my career would have been completely different if I'd done that. But what was the question again?
Would you go back and do it again?
Knowing what you know now, would you do it again? Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like you say yes.
Of course I would. I mean, I think, we had a great experience and I had a great experience and we're all, I feel good to be part of something that everyone is proud to have done. And that so many generations of families are feeling so old again, are getting to experience. So,
yeah,
I would do it again.
I think we all would. There's no question. It's been a very special experience. What?
I'm dying because there's one question we were going to ask. Pamela didn't ask you yet.
Say it.
Do your children watch the show?
Oh, yeah. Do they watch?
Do they know?
Did they watch the show? They're beyond it now, probably, but did they?
No,
did they watch it at all?
Okay. Do they? Do they watch it every day?
Some do.
Did they watch it at all?
They really never did. No, they had.
Yeah.
I tried. I did. I would be. Don't you want to see Mom?
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
On the prairie and all mom's other family and friends and they were like, okay, and it was I was like, never mind. They saw probably I don't know, less than a dozen, I'd say, and that was about it.
Have they seen you go blind? Did they see those?
I'm pretty sure they saw that one. Yes,
okay,
they did.
Good. Okay,
I'm pretty sure they did.
Mom, you were awesome.
Some things I know, like when my son was maybe 8 or 9, he wanted to see my Equalizer. I don't even know if he wanted to see it. Maybe I wanted to see it. I don't know. And so he was happy to sit and watch. But then when the gun came out and they took Mom hostage, or what, they kidnapped me, the bad guys. That was it. No, and it was years before he would watch it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
I can relate.
I didn't think of it at the time, or I wouldn't have done it to him. But
yeah.
Anyway.
No, I can. I've said this before, but my mom is also an actor, and she was on an episode of Law and Order, and she's the one that gets murdered, and we all thought it would be so fun to watch, like Mom's on Law and Order, and then we see her with a bullet in her head, and it was horrible. It was very, very traumatic. I can relate. Okay, I think that's a wrap for today. Thank you so much for coming back. This was incredible.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. I've had a great time with you guys. My very first in-person podcast.
You do it well, Melissa.
Better late than never, right?
Very good.
We could have you for another 2 hours, I think.
Seriously. We won't torture you, though. Sorry.
We won't.
We will not make you do that.
No.
We will not make you do that.
My pleasure, really. Thanks so much, you guys.
Of course.
Thank you so much.
Everyone, that's epic Melissa Anderson. There she is.
Incredible.
Check us out. If you want to see more of her, join us on Patreon. It's only $5 a month if you want to come on and see some extras and more of your listener questions. So join us on our socials, Little House 50 Podcast, our website, littlehouse50podcast.com. Get hooked up to all of it. And I think, Bob, let's get the wig.
Get the wig.
All right, let's fly. See you next time, guys. Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you, Pam.
Fly.
It's all good. You can